Hello, everybody, and welcome to What's the Story podcast, WTS 260. My name is Danny Murray.
I'm Graham Merrigan.
Graham Merrigan, how are you, my friend? Are you keeping well?
Yeah, I'm very good. Are you?
I am, yeah, I'm doing great. Recording here on a lovely sunny day for once.
Yeah, and I went out the back earlier on, and the council were cutting the grass.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there was a nice smell of cut grass for the first time.
That's we're recording this 1st of March. Look at that, the first meteorological day of spring, and the council are on it. That's what you love to see. Up the lads.
Love to see it.
The world's gone mad since last time we spoke here.
Just a bit.
Yeah. Like, I remember we had a chat a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, no, nothing will happen. Nobody wants to go over that cliff edge. You know. And how wrong was I, Graham Merrigan?
There's a lot of people that were wrong. There's a lot of people that we know that are based in Russia that were wrong.
Yeah.
There was a lot of people, so what does that mean? Like, does that mean that Putin is just completely unpredictable? Is he gone mad? He's 69 now, so it's not as if he's ancient. But what does it mean? Like,
it's a terrible thing that he's done by sending armed forces into another country and invading the way that he did. All we can do is hope that there's a peaceful outcome and that it doesn't go on much longer, because it's like some of the stuff
like that does it at the moment.
We can only hold out hope, I suppose. But it's an atrocity. Like, it's vile, it's wrong. Look, there's a million and one ways you can say it, but at the end of the day, it very much so seems to be Vladimir Putin and possibly a small number of people around Vladimir Putin who are telling him what he wants to hear to go ahead and do it. But I don't believe it's well supported anywhere in Russia or in the world, for that matter. And
in Russia, do you believe that? Yeah.
Yeah, like look, we'll maybe we'll get somebody on to talk about it properly, because I don't know enough about it and you don't know enough about it. But, like, I mean, if you're seeing things on social media like Russian influencers and whatever, like, there's been all sorts of social media bans and all sorts of things in Russia to try and manipulate what people can see and hear and all that kind of stuff. But, like, social media influencers who are based outside of Russia are kind of, putting stuff on Twitter and putting stuff on. There's a Russian version of Facebook, which I can't remember the name of it, and they're doing it. Another thing I saw happening during the week was people logging on to, like TripAdvisor and places like that.
Yeah.
And they go to, like, a restaurant in Moscow or a restaurant and whatever, and in their review is telling the people of Russia what is actually happening.
No way.
For a lot of people, all they're getting is kind of state-run media.
Yeah.
But, and look, sporting bodies around the world have came out, and they've all, like, the sanctions are all there to see. Like, FIFA and UEFA probably a little bit slow to do what they need to do, but they've pulled it. The FA, the IFA, I don't know how many football associations, pretty much all of them have said they won't play any Russian teams. Formula One have pulled the Grand Prix. Haas, the Formula One team, got rid of their Russian sponsor. Schalke have got rid of Gazprom as their sponsor. So, like, even Switzerland, the most neutral country in the world, has put sanctions on Russia. So, I mean, yeah, what's that Chinese proverb? May you live in interesting times?
That tells its own story with Switzerland, doesn't it?
It does indeed, man. It does indeed. But look, maybe we'll get somebody on who is well more versed and well more educated in all these things. But I suppose right now, look, let's just hope things don't escalate any further. But on to something completely different, Graham. On to something completely different and more fun and whatnot. I covered this a little bit in the intro, but I've gone down the rabbit hole of esports over the last little while. I've been saying for months we're going to get somebody on the podcast to talk about it.
Yeah.
So we did. Our reach has possibly exceeded our grasp here. Yeah. Because we've only gone and landed a Ferrari employee.
That's right. And go on, who is he?
Let's just get into it.
Okay.
Mero, for the last while, I have been driving you mad, pun intended, about sim racing, esports, and the world of F1 esports particularly.
Yes.
And before Christmas, I was texting you saying
you're in the Irish League, aren't you?
Yeah, shameless plug. I'm in League of Ireland F1, YouTube and social media, lads. Check them out. It's great crack. But I was texting you and I was like, Maro, turn on Sky Sports. This is what I've been talking about. And it was the finale of the esports season. Yeah. And I've been saying to you for ages, we're going to get someone on the podcast to talk about this. And now we've finally done it. And I'm delighted to say we've a 2-time F1 esports champion joining us, Ferrari Driver Academy, none other than Brendon Leigh. Brendon!
Hey, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, man. Thank you. This is exciting for me because I've gone down the esports rabbit hole and I'm loving F1 esports and everything else. And it kind of happened during the pandemic when kind of F1 was in that little bit of a kind of no racing happening, but some of the drivers were doing the online races. And I was like, oh, what is this? And from there, it's ballooned for me and I'm loving it. I've joined that league in Ireland as well. I'm not very good. Brutally honest.
I know, you're the next world champion. I can see it.
I'm being modest. I'm still driving with assists on. But, I'll get there.
Yeah, I feel threatened. I'm nervous.
But you are a 2-time F1 esports champion, and you're with Ferrari, which when people think of F1, they instantly think of Ferrari. So tell us a little bit about how you started in esports, and then we'll build from there.
Well, I mean, I think it needs to go down to very core of my childhood. I started off doing motocross as a kid. I ran out of budget for that, but really at the start I was doing motocross and playing a game called MX vs ATV. It was fantastic. One of the best memories I've ever had gaming was on that, because I was a little kid, come home from school, just drive, or ride the bike or virtual anyway. Became a fan of Formula One in around 2007, 2008. And then I saw every year the current producer of the game Codemasters were making the official Formula One game from 2010 on the consoles of Xbox, PlayStation, and PC. And then from then, every single year, I've had the game on the release day, and I've been playing every year. I've got to be at least over 800 hours on the game.
Yeah, that's a serious amount of game time. And this is what's brilliant about this is I remember when I was in school, and teachers would always say, you'll never make a career out of PlayStation. You'll never make a career out of your Xbox, lads. But here's a gang of lads now, and this is growing and growing and growing every year, who are defying those words now. So when did you kind of realize, or when did you get into kind of like the online piece and sort of say, this is competitive, I'm into this?
Yeah, so I was playing the game. I've always been playing the game for fun. But in 2014 was really when I discovered the fact that, as you talk about, league racing, and that was the top standard, the top level that you could do. And often you had leagues such as AOR or whatever, or ARL, I think it was called back in those days, that would host a race on Sunday night, 8 p.m. UK time, and you'd train in the week, and then you would race on the Sunday night. And I think it was very similar when I look back to sort of go-karting or lower formulas in real life, where it's not that you're just driving for fun because you want to push yourself to be better, but ultimately there wasn't any prize money. You were just turning up with some friends and trying to beat each other for one Sunday night and practicing with each other during the week. It was a fantastic time, really. Yeah.
And now so we're jumping forward then. So 2017, your first Drivers' Championship. So how did it start to become a little bit more than you're just racing against kind of mates on a Sunday and practicing during the week?
Well, honestly, it was such a bizarre situation for me because at this time I was training as a chef. That's what I was doing. And if I wasn't racing esports, that's probably what I'd be doing still. So I was working as a chef in this hotel. And I said to myself, going into the semi-final, I qualified for the semi-final, got there. And I said to myself, all right, if this semi-final goes well, I'm going to quit my job and put all my chips into the final. See what happens. Because I don't ever believe in life you should half-ass anything. You should either commit or don't commit. You commit, you believe in yourself, go for it. And I believed in myself. So went to the semi-final, put it on poll out of 40 people there, and like 55,000 people signed up. I said, oh, okay, this might be a thing now. Okay, let's try it. So next day, phoned up my boss and said, okay, I quit. He was a little bit surprised, but really supportive of him. And I have to give him a massive thank you because at this time, I've never been outside the country. so I didn't even have a passport. And I don't know how it works in other countries, but you have to have like an employer or someone to sign off the passport, don't you? To say you are who you are. And he actually signed off my passport to allow me to quit my job and go racing. But then, so effectively, that's how it all kicked off. So I quit my job after the semi-final, put all my chips down to the final, and then completely just sent it in. And that weekend was so crazy for me because you turn up in Abu Dhabi, you're in the Formula One paddock. Already you have to pinch yourself that you're in the Formula One paddock, but then you're in the Formula One paddock as a driver. And if you look at the photos from back then, we actually had our own garage. It was at the end of the pit lane. So in between practice session and in between races, we was having drivers such as Fernando Alonso stopping and coming in and watching us. It was fantastic memory that will live on forever.
Absolutely. Wow. Yeah. And it's one thing, because I know that there were some people listening to this, and then like even my partner at home when I'm playing F1 on the PlayStation or whatever, and she's just looking at me and she's shaking her head being like, what is this? And I'm like, you don't understand how big this is getting now. And the fact that kind of Formula One and teams like Ferrari have set up kind of driver academies that's bringing this digital age in, it just shows how quickly this is growing and how serious it's getting.
Yeah, and I think that's really the biggest difference since like 2015, 2016, because back then you had other forms of esports, whether it would be third person games or whatever it might be, but you see like massive other games with like 40 million prize pool, but motorsport esports is still relatively quite new. Ironically though, it's the most true to life esports in the world, because if you have FIFA, you don't see Ronaldo or Messi playing with the gamepad to score the goal, do you? If you see other third-person games, you don't see them playing with a gamepad. They're physically running through their field or whatever. Whereas the inputs that we're doing in esports are exactly the same inputs as we're doing in real life. So much so that when I went to the Race of Champions in 2019 Mexico, in the practice laps, I never actually got to race Sebastian Vettel, but in the practice laps, I was just as quick as him in the Race of Champions buggy.
Mm. And and Sebastian Vettel, a four-time world champion. It's just
like that was a cool moment for me. But to summarize, like it's getting bigger and bigger because everyone's seeing the similarities and the impact that esports is having. But especially in the fact that drivers now, you see the Formula One world champion goes home and trains on his sim. So it's getting to the point where if you want to be a top level real life driver as well, you have to be training on the simulator to refine your skills and become the best version of yourself.
And these simulators, so like, again, and I know people at home probably thinking like it's a PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, whatever, but these simulators are the closest you can get to a Formula One cockpit without actually sitting in a Ferrari or a Williams or whatever the case is.
Yeah, and like I think the magical thing about it is real life motorsport, if you want to send your kid karting, you need to be spending 50, 60, 70 grand a year, if not more, if you want to be with the big teams. And then as soon as you go to F4, you're spending like 200,000, then you go to FIF3, it's like 1.3 million. F2 is like 2 million or something ridiculous like that. Whereas the beautiful thing about esports is if you want to, you only really have to buy yourself a PlayStation, Xbox, or a PC, and a rig. Around cost is around 1,500, 2,000. Still a lot of money on its own, but comparing to the real life equivalent, it's very little. Then you can propel yourself with enough practice, enough dedication into a situation that you're employed by a Formula One team. It's that. I think that's the beautiful thing about it.
Which is the position you find yourself in today, and it's amazing, but it's also crazy in a sense. So, like, tell us, so what is kind of a day-to-day existence for you? Then you mentioned earlier on doing up to 800 hours in driving and all that kind of stuff, but you're now a Ferrari employee essentially. You're part of the drivers' academy. So what does day-to-day life look like for you?
Well, I think it's better to split it down into two sides of the year because realistically, the same as the real Formula One, there's two sides of the year, the on-season, the off-season. At the moment, we're in a bit of the off-season. So in the off-season, we're still training. We're analysing basically what we could have done better in the previous season. So that may be watching, reviewing the races, seeing what we can do, improving our nutrition, improving our physical self, our fitness, our mental, everything possible to make ourselves a better human being, we're doing in the off-season. So we still have the schedule, but in the on-season, it can be 8-10 hours a day of driving. And in that time, it won't be just straight driving, because that's not a productive way to spend the time. That'll be 2 hours of driving, sit down, look at some data, look at some video reviews on what me and my teammate are doing better or worse compared to each other. And then, like I say, the whole summary of it is how can we achieve to win the world championship? And then we work backwards from that. And it's the same in real life. You know, you see them talk about the debriefs, you see them talk about self-improvement.
Yeah.
You see them talk about break 1 meter later. And this is the detail that we go into. So I think that I do a little bit differently, I think, to other esports drivers. Some other esports drivers are into the same fitness stuff, but I'm really becoming a massive advocate for my own fitness, for my own health. And that includes, like, in 2 weeks, I'll run a marathon. And I want to really push myself in that physical world as well.
So what are the benefits? Sorry, Mero, go on.
Yeah, and I was going to say, I was intrigued there when you said nutrition. So what nutrition intake do you need, kind of in this world?
It changes a little bit person to person, of course. But I find myself, when I'm in the season, I need to be taking a lot more carbs in, because I need that energy. Because although it looks like we're sat down doing very little for 8-10 hours a day, really, when we're driving, the intensity is so high that the heart rate can be at 120. When we're actually in the session and when you have to deliver under pressure, it can be going as high as 180, 190. So we also need to consider that the wheel and pedal set that I have, the pedal needs 90 kg of force to hit, to get to maximum pressure. And then the wheel is 10 Newton meters, what's equivalent to holding like a 1 or 2 kg weight straight out with your arms. So it takes a big toll on the body, actually, to be doing this level of exercise for the legs and for the arms, and the mental strain, 8-10 hours a day. So, like I say, I find myself needing more carbohydrates to give my body that energy to burn.
It's crazy, because the comparison, like, of that, when you're describing that, it's a full-on athlete lifestyle. Like, you're living and breathing this kind of like nutrition plan. Obviously there's going to be, you know, weight training in there, and you're trying to run a marathon as well, which shows endurance and everything else. And when you're saying about kind of heart rate during a race, you're at a level where I can only imagine it. I mean, a couple of weeks ago I was in 3rd place, and my palms are sweating, and I'm in tier 4 of this little national league, and my palms are sweating as the controller vibrates. I'm like, don't blow the podium. So, like, I'm baffled by, and I'm kind of amazed by the level you guys are operating at. At what point did that switch in your brain? At what point did you realize, kind of, all right, this is something that I have to absolutely push in order to be the best? Like,
just before the semi-final in 2017, because before that, like I say, it was all sort of league with your mate, and I've always been a competitive person, so I always wanted to win. But back then it was a little bit relaxed. But as soon as I realized that there's a life-changing opportunity on the cards, it was like, okay, click, I have to do everything that I can. In 2017, I wasn't really in good shape, to be honest. But then in 2018, I really worked so hard to get myself into amazing shape, and it paid off in the results.
Brilliant.
Wow.
And then
there's no way people at home would have envisaged that situation with nutrition and strength, and, you know, the 90k pressure that you said you need to, on the pedal. Like, that's just fascinating.
Well, I think it's the same. It's all about little gains, really, because you can do the job with maybe having fast food every day or whatever, but you won't be at your top performance. And it goes for every area of life, in my opinion, because I'm dedicated to being the best person that I can be. If I was working an office job or any job in the world, making that better nutrition for yourself, having that little bit more organic food or totally organic food, if possible, will make the difference for you in any stretch of life that you're doing.
Which, yeah, and it's crazy because obviously Ferrari, Italian, you know, it's not just a diet then of absolutely delicious pasta and ice cream 24/7, which is probably what I'd be opting for every day, like, you know.
Well, I mean, to be honest, I do eat quite a lot of pasta. I probably have pasta like 3-4 times a week, just because like I talked about, I need that carbohydrates to keep on fueling myself. But yeah, I mean, the ice cream here is pretty good.
You mentioned there the off season, on season. That currently it's the off season. So the esports season kicks off kind of later in the year. Obviously this will be your second season with Ferrari. What are the hopes and ambitions for the year ahead?
Win. That's our only target, is win.
Yeah, and it's like so. Okay. It's a very simplified response and a very simple answer to a question that I thought there'd be more to. That's my own fault, but I suppose with it.
Well, I mean, look, we can give you all of the detail about it, but if any driver joined onto a podcast, any competitive driver, and said, "Oh yeah, like the ambition, whatever," they'd be lying. The ambition is to win.
It's my question that was brutal, right? So I'll put it a different way then. Do you have like target milestones? So do you look at races that are coming up and you're like, all right, this is a track I love, or this is a track that I'm strong at, I want this one? Do you have certain little mini milestones in your own head?
To a little degree, yes, because you have to realize your weaknesses and your strength. But if you want to be a championship contender and fight for the wins and fight for the championship, winning the championship is more decided on who finishes second the most times rather than who wins the odd race. So it depends on what your objective is as a driver. If you want to be a driver who can win or show up and get 1 or 2 poles and win a few races, then you put all your practice into 1 or 2 tracks. If you want to be a driver that contests for the championship in the best way possible, even if you don't like a track or you know that you're not strong on it, you have to work so hard to make sure that you're at a competitive level and pick the battles that are necessary to fight. Because not on every track can you win, but on every track, maybe you can finish third. And that third might just be the difference.
Absolutely. So then, in terms of, we'll go a little bit quick fire then, right? So if you had to pick 3 tracks that you would just drive forever, or that you drive in real life in a Ferrari F1 car, what 3 tracks would you pick?
Nordschleife, Croft in York, and I think Silverstone.
Nordschleife, yeah. In a modern F1 car, I can only imagine how terrifying that would be. I would definitely be packing spare underpants.
I love that stuff. Because I know everyone says I love to live life on the limit, but I really do. And I can't tell you how many laps in the sim I've done of a Formula 1 car around Nordschleife. It is just the best. And then you take like the old Ferrari F1 cars or sometimes the road car as well in the sim around the Nordschleife, and you're like, wow, okay, I'm only getting 2% of what it was like for them in real life, but even that 2% is mind-blowing.
Absolutely, yeah. And then if you had to pick between, let's say, winning a home Grand Prix, your home Grand Prix, or winning that Monza in a Ferrari, which would you pick?
Home, every time.
Oh, front of the Tifosi, no?
No, I love the Tifosi, I love Monza, I love Italy, but nothing beats home. Because, like, you know, if you win in Monza, maybe you go and take a carbonara after. But if you win, in Silverstone, you go and have a good English full lunch. You know.
Yeah. And then I suppose the season ahead then with F1, everything last season, arguably kind of the most watched season in a long time. A lot of people highly anticipating the release of Drive for Survive on Netflix later this month. Any predictions, or would you like to call that for new regulation, new cars, all that kind of stuff? Any predictions you'd call for the season ahead?
Yeah, I mean, of course, it's going to be very difficult. It's going to be a very challenging season, and it's going to be one of those seasons that until probably Spa or 3/4 around the season, you're not really going to know who's going to show up and win. In my personal opinion, there's going to be about 4 cars that get the car right, and those 4 cars will fluctuate on who's going to be the fastest on that weekend. but it's going to be absolutely amazing. And I really look forward to seeing how the drivers adapt to it, and how they change their race-to-race combat, because previously in previous years, the dirty air and the wake of the car has been so bad that you see some drivers really intelligently, I think Carlos Sainz was one of these, really smart driver, would actually go off the racing line to get the clean air over the wing and get more grip. Whereas hopefully they won't have to do it now, and they'll be following a bit closer, but also the drag of the car won't be as big, what means the slipstream won't pull them as much. So in my opinion, you're going to see a lot more proper wheel-to-wheel overtaking and not just pass on the straight. It's gonna be fantastic. It's gonna be great.
Love it. And then I suppose the last question we'll ask then, for anyone who is kind of they're kind of looking at sim racing, they're kind of looking to get more involved in it, and the couple of lads who are probably looking at one of those rigs and saying, 1,200-1,500 quid, will I do it? What advice would you give in terms of how to get more involved and how to climb the ranks?
Well, truthfully, if you want to do anything in the world, you have to commit to it. You have to commit, and whether you want to be the best of it or not, only you can decide. But if you decide that you want to work a certain job or to be racing, you have to look at your core values and say to yourself, is that 1,200 or whatever price of the rig worth it to me? And if you say yes, and you say that you want to be an F1 esports, you want to be a professional driver or professional esports driver, commit. It's not always going to be fun. There's going to be times where you're going to be pushing yourself so hard. And I remember really when we're training, you're wanting the championship so badly, and in practice, you can become a bit frustrated. And sometimes you have to push yourself past the hours that you maybe don't necessarily want to do. But that's what champions are made of. You see so many amazing champions around the world, whether it may be basketball, motocross, Formula One. And the champions are the people working on the computer at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night. So if you want it and you want it bad enough, commit 110% that you have.
Excellent. That's advice for life, that one. Brendon Leigh, thank you so much for your time, man. And wish you and the guys at Ferrari all the best for the season ahead. Look forward to seeing what you guys can achieve together.
Thank you so much.
There you have it. Brendon Leigh, two-time esports Formula One world champion, current Ferrari driver academy driver.
It's a fascinating world, isn't it?
It's crazy, man. And this is it. This is like when I'm trying to explain to people, it's not just pressing X on the PlayStation or R2 on the PlayStation or whatever. You know what I mean? It's it's mad. There's a huge amount of sponsorship money in it. There's now a huge amount of TV money in it. You're seeing Sky Sports showing this thing regularly now. The
nutrition side of things kind of blew my mind in as far as I remember years ago being in New Zealand and going into an internet cafe. It was 24/7 the internet cafe, and we went in and just with the time zones and stuff. I think we went in about 2 or 3 in the morning to go on the internet or something, whatever it was. But there was a whole gaming section.
Yeah.
There was guys up all night playing Warcraft and stuff like that. And the nutrition, all they had was like Skittles and fucking
Red Bull.
Red Bull and Monster and all,
Yeah,
It was very interesting to hear Brendon speak about the nutrition aspect of esports, which I didn't think really existed, to be honest.
Yeah, and this one sets a whole world of it. So the Commonwealth Games is going to trial having esports in there, and the Olympics.
Really?
And the Olympics are looking at the introduction of esports into the actual Olympics.
So you can win a gold medal for esports.
Yeah.
Oh my god!
In Japan, they have these esports gyms where basically that kids go, and rather than joining say your local football club or your local whatever, you join this, and it's a full kitted gym. So they do all that sort of stuff, but then they're coached and they're taught how to play competitively on PC, Xbox, PlayStation, whatever it might be. This is
bonkers, isn't it?
Man, I'm telling you, we're moving into a world that you and I are going to look at in about 10 years time, and we're going to feel old because we're how are they doing that?
Yeah.
It's just.
I'm already there, Dan.
Yeah, this is so. It's.
I used to keep up with technology all the time and gaming and stuff as a
Hmm.
teenager, and how to fix the DVD player or the VHS player or whatever. And then I just went missing for years, and I was like, oh no, I can't even sometimes start my laptop for to start work. Like,
this is it, man. But we're living in a world where
I used
technology
to
is
enjoy
everything.
troubleshooting and all that. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And now
Well,
it's just like, whoa.
Yeah, we're living in a world now, man, where technology is everything, and it's running and it's leaping and it's doing everything, thinking and developing faster than any of us can keep up with. So, but if anyone is interested in the whole esports thing, lads, as I said, League of Ireland F1 is where I do my stuff and I have a bit of crack with that, and they're on YouTube and all that, and you can watch the races, and it's like.
And you
It's
can
mad.
listen to your brother Jono do the commentary.
From time to time, yeah, from time to time. But there's lads, and this is what I'm trying to explain, like there's lads in Ireland who are up there in terms of pace with some of those guys that are, professional esports drivers. Like they're top 20 in the world in terms of like their pace around certain tracks and all that kind of thing. It's just,
Mad.
this is crazy. Like,
Fair play to them all, making a living out of it.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. But sure, look, that's another podcast one for us. We all have things to do. We're recording this at a very unusual time for us. We're not doing this in our usual time slot, so everything's your brain is frazzled.
Yeah, and also it's Pancake Tuesday, so we'll be getting a few pancakes.
Hate pancake. You're an absolute. I didn't want you to bring that up, Brian, but now you've done it. And it's completely unnecessary. They're disgusting. Absolute. They're an abomination to cake.
Do you not like the picture of my pancakes I sent you this morning?
I replied to you exactly what I thought, Graham. Vile is how
there was Nutella, banana.
No, what are you doing? Nutella and banana together.
Walnut and vanilla natural yogurt.
Who are you dating a girl from Cloyney?
No.
Just sounds like it with that sort of thing.
It was stunning.
That's a very notion-filled pancake variety you've got there, Graham.
Will I give you my unnotioned lunch?
Go for it. Go on. Yeah, go for it.
Ham and cheese toasty on the George Foreman.
There you go. See? There we go. We're back to normal now. That's it. Would you put a bit of onion through that?
Will you put a bit of onion? Will you put some onion through it?
Would you, though?
Sometimes I would, yeah. And tomato. Tomato.
And tomato. Jesus, yeah. No, I'm not. I could take or leave the tomato now, but a ham and cheese toasty with a drop of onion in there.
Can I give a good tip actually?
Absolutely. Yeah, go on.
Toasties. So I don't know if this happens to you, but it does happen to me. When you're eating a toasty sometimes, and it does be so hot, and you take a bite, the whole slice of ham comes out.
Yes. Yeah,
so
I've fallen victim to it.
This is what you do. You rip up the ham.
It's so simple.
It's so simple. You rip up the ham and you put it on your sandwich. So therefore, when it's roasting hot and you're taking a bite, only that bite-sized rip comes out, not the whole slice of ham. My good friend Robert Kavanagh gave the tip to me and Pat Flynn months ago, and it's a game changer. And it's also, I like tomato on it, but when you slice a round bit of tomato,
yeah,
again, when you're eating a boiling hot toasted sandwich, they have to be eaten boiling hot, because that's the part.
Absolutely, that's it. Yeah, you want it to be like lava, like.
Yeah, that's part of the. You want to burn the roof off your gum.
Have you even had a toasted sandwich if you haven't burnt your mouth?
Exactly, but do the same with the tomato. Chop it up into little bite size instead of the circle slice. Chop it all up. Therefore, there's nothing burning your chin, or there's nothing. It's a game changer, and you enjoy your toasted sandwich experience even better.
It's so simple, but I feel as though you bestowing this knowledge upon me and the people who listen to this podcast, you've done a form of community service here.
Absolutely, and look, people will be thanking me for years.
Yeah, I know I will. I wasn't going to have a toasty for lunch.
Now you are.
I am. I have a bit of soup. I've got a bit of tomato basil soup down there.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to have a toasty with it, and I'm going to take your recommendation because that is genius.
You're welcome. Petal.
Unbelievable. Mero, people want to listen to the 259 plus episodes that preceded this episode of the podcast. Where and how could they do such a thing?
They can go to WTSpod.com and you'll find all of our podcasts on that. Or you can search WTS Pod on any podcast provider. Anywhere and everywhere you can get a podcast, just log in WTS Pod and you will see our delicious cartoon logo. He's at Danjo Murray on Twitter and Instagram. I'm at Merrigan Mania on Twitter and Instagram. It's Pancake Tuesday. Shamrock Rovers are top of the league. And until next time, Daniel.
Bows have a game in hand, so we'll soon be top of the league. 1 point ahead of Shamrock Rovers. Clear eyes.
Full hearts.
Can't lose.
Super Jack Bourne.
Ali, coot.